everybody, welcome to Harmon Garage. I'm Aaron, and we got a short week this week. It's Thanksgiving week. I got family coming in from out of town, and I've got a lot of stuff to do. So we're only gonna get one video up this week instead of the two that I normally try to do. But hopefully it'll be a good one. And since I have a short week and I can't get a lot of work done in multiple videos, I'm just gonna stay on the burnout truck for now because there's a lot of little stuff I can do that I can make decent content on. So that's what we're gonna do. I got back from my family vacation. I came in yesterday and let's just say decluttered the shop. I don't want to say I cleaned it because I'd be lying. I got all my tools put away. I got a bunch of unnecessary crap out of here. And so I can actually walk around, move around, have a little bit of room to work. So that's a lot better. Still not clean, but we'll get to that at another time. Why I got your attention, if you could, please like and comment on the videos. It helps with the algorithm so more people see my videos and channel grows and stuff like that. So if you could just like and comment, I'd really appreciate it. But with all that being said, it's time to get to work. So for our little short project this week, I got the inner fenders taken off of the fenders. So I want to lighten the fenders like I did the doors. So I'm gonna cut all the unnecessary metal out of the fenders, both sides, and take the badging off, shave the lights, take the trim off, anything I can do to make them lighter, we're gonna do. And with that being said, once I cut all that down, they're gonna be kind of flimsy, which is fine. It's not gonna be a daily driver, probably never even see the road. But I'm 100% for sure eliminating that core support. Now with the core support being eliminated, we're gonna have to find a way to brace the front of those fenders, hang some headlights in it because I still want to have headlights and stuff like that. We'll build all that off of the cage. But for this video, I'm going to lighten up these fenders and we're going to start mocking up the roll cage for sure this time. So let me get everything set up and we'll get started. Okay, I got the light off, I got the badge off, I got the trim off. And the first thing I'm going to do is I want to cut out this pocket where the light is because it's got extra metal for the mounting tabs and all that stuff, and I'm going to shave it anyways, so I'm just going to cut it a little bit bigger than this to get all that extra stuff out of there. I know it doesn't weigh much, but when you add it all up, a pound's a pound. So I just want to come around just on the outside of this to get the excess stuff out. And another thing I'm dealing with is I got this big dent right here, which is going to change how this is shaped. So in time, not today, but before the truck is done, when I do all the body work, I'm going to have to work this dent out. But I'm just going to go ahead and weld this patch panel in here now, and then it shouldn't affect fixing that dent too much. Everything should still come out straight. And maybe when I cut this out, it will relieve some of that dent. I doubt it, but anything's possible. Okay, so I'm just going to cut that out, and then we got another piece of metal over there, some lightweight, like 20 gauge or something. We'll trace out our pattern here. I might beat this back just a little bit to get it more into the shape it should be in, but not going to spend a lot of time on it. Then we'll make our filler panel. We'll get that welded in. I'm going to try very hard to metal work this good. because I don't want to have to put any filler on this truck, and it will get painted, and I want the paint job to look decent. So once again, it's going to be a race car, burnout car, whatever, so it's only got to look good from 10 feet away, but I want it to look good from 5 feet away. So we're going to do our best. We'll see what happens. I'm going to cut this out. Okay, we got that out. I'll clean that up just a little bit, and then we'll get something over here we can make a template out of, and we'll trace it out, cut it out, and then we'll be ready to start tacking it back in. Alright, got that cleaned up. Got a piece of cardboard here, paper. I'm going to set it over the top of this. Dang it. Alright, so I've got a close mark now, so I'm going to cut this a little bit bigger than the mark that I have, and then we'll just fine tune it down to what we need. Okay, cut that there, and then we will have what we need to trim out on our panel, and I'm going to try to get in here and straighten this out just a little. It's way more kinked than it should be, and I'm not proficient enough in body work to know. I think if I make this fit here, then I should be able to body work it back just like I would body work it if it was a whole bent piece. But I think if I can get this straightened out some more where it needs to be, and kind of get this pulled back a little bit, then this piece will go in easier and it'll be easier to body work it later. So I'm gonna just try to tap this back more where it should be, and guess we'll just see what happens. All right, change of plans again. You know how things go around here. We just kind of wing it and hope it turns out okay at the end. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim out the inner brace on this fender all the way around. I'm gonna leave my mounts where it mounts to the cab here, where it mounts to the cab here, where it mounts to the cab down here, and then I'll leave a couple spots where it can mount up in the front. But other than that, I don't need hood hinges, I don't need hood springs, I don't need all this extra weight. So I'm gonna kind of shady eyeball a line here, and we're gonna trim all this out. Alright, so I made a line. No particular reason it is where it is, other than I need something to follow while I'm cutting it. And down in here, these two pieces, the outer and the inner piece, are pressed against each other. So I got to be really careful when I cut around this wheel opening to make sure that I only cut the inside and don't go all the way through. So once I get this all cut out the way I want to cut it out, I'll be able to get to the back side of that light and body work that better before I put that new piece in. And I know I said I wasn't going to body work it now, but I'm not going to finish body work it. I just want to get it straighter so that piece goes in better. So I'm going to gear up, go get some gloves, and we're going to start slicing and dicing on this thing. Okay, well, I got all the inner bracing on that fender cut off, and I might have made a mistake. But luckily, I've got a welder and I know how to use it. So mistakes can be fixed. Down here where it bolts to the bottom of the cab, there's a extra brace back here. I thought it was just a nut welded on the back. I didn't know there was an extra brace. So once I started cutting it, it's messed up. I gotta cut this piece off, weld it back to the fender. Once again, I got a welder, no big deal. Not concerned with it at all. But on the bright side, we got it out. Look at all that room I got to do that body work now. Pretty nice. Fender's a little flimsy, just like the doors. Exactly what I expected, but still kind of heavy. But half the half the weight it was before. So I'm going to, I don't know what I'm going to do next. Probably everything. I'm just going to do everything next. I got to cut that piece I told you back off, weld it back in the fender. We're going to straighten that up a little bit and put our patch in there, work that down, and then this fender will be as ready to go as it's going to be. So I'll take a grinder and clean up around some edges where I cut and stuff. I might be able to trim some of that back a little bit more. I wanted to see if I could try to find the spot welds and get this completely off, but I'm thinking having that dual lip there is going to make it a little bit stronger, so that's good. So yeah, I guess it's time to start cutting, tapping, welding, basically what we've been doing the whole time so far. So I'm going to get the welder over here. I'll get that piece cut back off and get it tacked back in, and then I'll know I have my mount for the bottom of my fender. And yeah, I'll keep you guys updated on what I got going on. Alright, well, when I was tracing the template onto the metal and everything, I forgot to turn the mic on, so I just put it in there so you could see what I was doing. But all I said was, I'm pretty sure this is 20 gauge. I got my, got it traced out on here, and I got it marked. So this is the front facing out, and that goes to the top. So we're gonna go ahead and get this cut out. The bad part about this setup, I love this little bandsaw. The bad part is with this throat here, you're kind of limited to what you can do. You just gotta get creative, and you can usually get 99% of what you need, but it takes a little while. Alright, we got our piece cut out. I'm gonna get it cleaned up, and we'll get it over there and start tacking it in. Alright, so to be completely honest, this is probably one of the worst fitting patch panels I've ever made, but we're gonna do the best we can with it and make it work. So probably gonna be a bunch of hammering. There may be some muted segments of this because I may be using words that aren't safe for YouTube, but that kind of stuff happens. So let's see if we can get it tacked in there and look somewhat representable. I could just go make another one, but I really don't want to waste the material, and yeah, I don't want to waste the material if I can make it work. So we're going to try to make it work. I got some magnets that don't usually work worth a crap, but I'm going to try them. Okay, I'm gonna just start tacking and work my way down, trying to get it as close as I can. I'm gonna have to move it and hold it and tack it and all that kind of stuff, and we'll just see how it goes. right, I got it all tacked in. I'm gonna have to work the metal the whole time I'm welding it up to make it stay fairly straight. This fender needs some work anyways, but I still want it to look the best that I can. And we're doing the best we can with what we got. My batteries are dead in my auto darkening welding helmet, and I've gotten used to using it, so I've been trying to use my old helmet because I don't want to drive to town to get batteries. And it's a huge transition going from an auto darkening helmet to a always dark helmet where you got to kind of see where you're at, drop the hood down, do it. I used to do it all the time, but I've gotten so used to the auto darkening that it's hard now, especially when you're tacking, moving, and all that. So I'm trying to fight through it. I'll show it to you guys here. It's in there. It's pretty flat. The metals, I think I might need like 18 gauge. The 20 is a little too thin. It might be 22. It's pretty thin. And my gap's pretty big, but I can weld it. It'll require some grinding, but oh well, whatever. So I'm gonna just go ahead and work my way through it and get it all tacked in there. Tappy, tappy, tacky, tacky, tappy, tappy, tacky, tacky, you know, just whatever it takes. I'll get it in, and then I'll give you guys an update when we get it cleaned up. Okay, I got it all welded up. It worked a little bit, but like I said before, I got to body work all this stuff anyways. So got my little wizard wheel out, and I'm gonna smooth down all the welds. All right, well, I've got it as far as I'm gonna go with it today. I want to get going on the cage so we can get some of that stuff done for this video. And this is the only day I really got to work this week because I got family and all that stuff, like I said before. So I kept going on it and going on it and going on it, and I can make it better. I will make it better, but for now, it's all the time I have to work on it. So it's definitely more than good enough for filler. But like I said, I don't want to put filler on it. I can do a little bit more hammer and dolly work. I still got to fix that wheel well opening where it's all messed up, and there's some rust at the bottom I got to fix. But you guys get the gist of it. I cut the inner panel out. I'll just show it to you. You can still kind of see some of the welds. It's a little off from where I was beating on it to get the welds up to sand them and whatnot, but it doesn't look terrible. It needs a little bit more work, like I said. I don't know if I showed you or not, but I went ahead and welded up the holes where the emblems were. Sanded them off. They look okay. Good enough to paint for a race car. And yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and hang this on the truck just because I want to. And then we're going to get started on that cage. So I'll show you guys the process that I go along with on that. We're not putting the whole cage in today. We probably won't get much more than the B-hoop in, but it takes quite a bit of work to do it right, or what I consider to be right. And yeah, so we're gonna get started on it. We'll see how far we get, and we'll go from there. All right, I got the fender hung back on there. I kind of sort of aligned it, but I didn't set any gaps. You can see the door gaps tighter at the bottom than the top. This don't look bad here, but blah, blah, blah. I didn't put any shims in it. I didn't really align it. The main reason I wanted to put it back on is because, like I said, I made a oopsie and cut that all off. And I welded it all back on, and I wanted to make sure that it was going to be where it was supposed to be and everything was going to mount up okay. So surprisingly, for what I took out of this and how it's hanging, it's still pretty rigid except for up here at the front. So it's hanging there, everything still mounts good, and it's out of my way for right now. So that's good. My doors still work, that's good too. Now the first thing I'm gonna do as far as the cage, well, first thing I'm gonna do is jack the truck up and level it, but I'm not gonna make y'all watch that. So I'm gonna jack the truck up, level it, and then I'm gonna measure from here up to the ceiling, because I bought a pre-bent cage because I don't have a pipe bender or any of that stuff. And I've used pre-bent cages before, and they always come with a bunch of extra material. So you always gotta cut the ends off to make them fit. My halo is gonna be too long. My B-hoop's gonna be too long. They don't notch them, you gotta notch them. So we're gonna have to do a lot of cutting and notching. And that's why I'm just kind of mocking it up to get started. So I'll get it leveled out. I'll get my measurement taken in there, like I said. And then we'll see what we gotta do. I'll get that B-hoop cut down about an 1/8 inch shorter than we need it, because we're gonna have to put our plate underneath it. And then once I get it cut and I can set it down in here where it's gonna go, then I'm gonna mark it down here. And I'm going to hole saw holes the same diameter as the cage down through the floor where the cage is gonna sit. And once I put my hoop and my door or my vertical bars in the front and all that, I'll drill holes in the front the same way. Now, the reason I do that is because I like to get the cage as tight up to the ceiling as I can to give me more room and kind of hide it, I guess. Not that it matters, but and that way, if I drill the holes in the floor, once I get the main portion of the cage tacked together, I can drop that cage down through those holes in the floor and weld it up all the way around up on the top, or weld the halo bar completely around where it goes to the B-hoop, and weld everything for the front bars going down all the way around. There should be a cross brace in there. I can weld it all the way around. And then once I get all that welded, all I'll have to do is take a ratchet strap and run it through across the top of the roof and through, and then I can ratchet that ratchet strap up, and that's gonna pull my cage back up tight against the ceiling. And then I'll take my plates, slide them underneath the cage, weld them to the floor, and then weld the cage to them. So that'll cover up the holes, and that way, that's the best way I know to do it. I can put my gussets in while it's down, all that stuff, and it'll be completely welded really well and mounted the way that the book says they want you to do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and level this thing out. I'll take some measurements and then we'll get started on the B-hoop. Okay, so a couple more things I want to mention, and I've already started the process. So first thing, I got the truck really close to being level, sitting on stands. That being said, this is not the ideal way to put a cage in. Ideally, you want to be able to have it on like a frame table or something along those lines, or on some kind of jig that you can actually take the suspension off, weld the frame solid to it, because when you go really fast, everything being square and the chassis and the cage and all that being perfect can make a difference. I don't have the availability for any of that stuff, so this is the way we're doing it, and I'm not going to go really fast, so it'll be fine. Now when we go to build the other truck that I want to eventually go really fast, it's going to be stripped down to just a cab and a frame, solid body mounts. We'll figure out some kind of way to make it 100% perfectly level on the dots, everything, so on and so forth. But this is the way we're gonna do it. This thing's not gonna go that fast, and I'm too dumb to die. So it'll be good enough, and yeah, it'll be good enough. So I took my measurement from up here to down there. I have 40 inches from metal to metal. So what I'm gonna do is measure. Here's my bar. You can tell I've had this cage for a long time. It's acquired a little bit of rust over the time that I've had it. But what I'm gonna do is measure from the top of this bar down 39.5 inches and cut the legs off. Now, I told you I wanted it tight at the top, and I'm leaving 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch for my plate underneath. That's right. But I do not want the cage touching the cab. So if I got 1/4 of an inch gap on the top and no gap at the bottom, that's tight in my opinion. So we're gonna cut this thing off at 39.5, both sides, and then we'll get started putting it in. Okay, there's a lot better tools I could be using to do this, but I left myself a little bit of slack so we can clean it up. And you work with what you got, so that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna try to get it as straight as I can, and I'll clean it up if I have to. Okay, that came out pretty darn straight, but in case you guys didn't notice, I wasn't forcing the saw through the pipe. I set it on there, lined it up where I wanted it, and until I was about halfway through the pipe, I didn't even go full throttle on the trigger. So it's one of those things. Sawzalls can make a really sloppy cut, but sawzalls can also make a really clean cut. You just got to take your time and let the saw do its job, and not just try to force it through there to get your cut done. I'm guilty of it. Body work, anything that very time consuming and takes a lot of patience to do, I struggle with, because I just want to bam, 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 get it done. And that's not always the case, and that's not the way things always work. So I've been trying really hard to work on my patience and do a better job with the stuff that I do. And that's like all that body work on groundskeeper. It took me a month of sanding and hammering and filling and all that, and I hated every minute of it. But I loved it at the same time. Like, I like doing it, but I forced myself to slow down and do it better, and it turned out pretty dang good. So I don't know why I'm sitting here talking about all this, but basically what I'm saying is if you don't have the $1 million pipe cutter, and you don't have the laser cut notcher and all that stuff, it's okay. You can still do it with basic hand tools you can buy at any hardware store, other than a good welder. You kind of need a good welder, but you can do it all, and that's how I've done most of the stuff that I've done. And if I can say so myself, most of my stuff turns out pretty darn good. So I'm gonna flip it over, cut the other side, We'll jab it in the cab, see how it fits. Alright, we're gonna get this up in here. Hopefully my measuring was correct. And it was dang close. Now, when you get this pre-bent stuff, it's kind of usually like overbent, I guess, the best way to say it. You guys can't really see probably from your angle, but this comes down and bends again, and it should pretty much go straight down. Well, if you guys can't really see anything, sorry, but it should go straight down, and it's 1 3/4 to 2 inch off on both sides. So usually I've got somebody else helping me, and when I go to tack it, I kind of manhandle it into place. I can't really do that this time because I don't have anybody here to help me, but it's not going to hurt anything if it's angled in a little bit. I mean, maybe it's supposed to be like that. Maybe I just like them going straight down. I don't know. But if they're not going straight down, I'm going to have to cut a bigger hole for it to be able to go down to weld it. So either way, we got our measurements right. I'll bring you guys in here and show you better with it sitting up. I need to take some measurements and make sure I got it centered in the truck and stuff like that. I think it's pretty close, but yeah, we got it cut, we got it sitting in the truck, and we're making progress. So once again, like I said, I'm going to have a plate underneath here, so a little bit of this gap up here will be taken up, which I might have to shave a little bit more off because it's pretty close already. So I'm gonna see if I can find the plates. That's another part of the problem. I haven't looked yet, and there's parts of this roll cage scattered all over that parts room in there. So I'm gonna see if I can find the plates that go underneath it. If not, I've got some metal laying around, I'll just make some. But that bar's in. Ideally, I'd like to tack it in place so I can start working on the next bar. And then the next bar's kind of your halo bar, kind of get it tacked in place. And then we got our ones that go down the front of from the halo down the A-pillar and down to the floor. That's kind of the next step, but once again, I'm just kind of seeing how far I can get, and we'll see how far we can get. So got our B-hoop cut, set in there. I'm going to go look for the plates real quick and make sure it's going to fit and we don't need to trim a little bit more off of it. And then we'll grab our halo bar, and I'm 99.9% sure that's going to have to be notched. So then we'll get out the notcher and start notching. So be back with you guys in just a minute. Alright, before we go any further into this, and before I say anything, I'm not looking for sympathy or anything like that. I guarantee you that I'm not that type of person. But you guys might notice I'm not my usual self right now doing this cage. You know, I'm not all excited, hey, let's do it, blah, blah, blah. And the reasoning for that is kind of goofy for me because things don't normally bother me. But the last time I built a cage was with a really good friend of mine that I considered a brother. He had some health issues. He lived with me for a long time. I helped him out. I took care of him, whatever I needed to do. And he was the last person I built a cage with, and he passed away, I want to say 2.5 or probably about 3 years ago, right before Thanksgiving. And things aren't exactly going right, perfect, like I like them to. And that's the way everything went when he helped me out, just because he argued with me about everything and told me I was doing it all wrong. And and it just made things frustrating and stuff didn't go right. So stuff's fighting me today, and it's almost Thanksgiving, and I'm building the roll cage, and just all those things put together, I guess it just kind of getting to me a little bit. So I'm not sitting here about to break down crying or nothing like that. I'm not that type of person, but it's just on my mind and it's bugging me a little bit. So that's why I'm not my normal chipper self. But anyways, I got those holes drilled all the way through to the floor, both sides. Now I can put my plates back over there. I can set my B-hoop back in. And then we got our halo bar that's gonna go in, but it needs to be notched first. And I told you guys I had a really fancy top of the line notcher. Well, here it is. Harbor Freight Special. I've used it many times and it's always worked great for me. You gotta kinda deal with it, and it can be a pain in the butt sometimes, but it gets the job done. So I already got the measurements for the halo bar, so we can get it notched. My dad just pulled up. He came over to help me hold stuff while I notch it, tack it, whatever the case needs to be. So I'm gonna get that halo bar set up in the notcher over there, and we'll start notching it. Well, remember just a second ago when I told you nothing was going right today? The saga continues. So this is the hole saw that was in my notcher when I pulled it out of where it's been sitting since I moved. It doesn't have any teeth left on it. They're ate up. So I had a newer 1 3/4 hole saw that I bought and I use all the time. Well, I put it on there. I was like, all right, let's go. You guys might notice it is, I'd say teeth and all, 1/4 inch shorter. The new one's a 1/4 inch longer. Well, that pipe has to sit in that groove, and it can't go through there to the hole saw because the hole saw is too long. So that being said, I'm done for today. It's late at night. There's no stores open to get a hole saw, and it'd be a half hour, 45-minute drive to get one if there was any stores open. And I'm ready to go home. I got family coming in. They're driving through the night, so they'll probably be here, I don't know, 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And then I get to entertain family for the rest of the week. So today was the last day that I that I could come over and get work done. And now I'm at a standstill. So I appreciate you guys for watching. And I don't know when I'll be able to get back on this, because next week I got to get back on cherry pie and make some progress on it. Maybe I'll take a day next week to work on Rum Runner or the burnout truck. I don't know. But yeah, so sorry for the that's it. But I told you we'd start on the cage this video, and we started on the cage this video. So appreciate you guys watching. If it wasn't for you guys, I couldn't do this. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you next time.